Hey there, it's Kelly O'Connell, author and attorney, and appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're having a good day. On my last video, or podcast I should say, it got about 6,000 views in a little over 24 hours, so that was encouraging. Doing a topic today, and the topic is really kind of the direction the country's going, but I want to focus a little bit on Pete Buttigieg, or Buttigieg, as I prefer to call him. I can't really pronounce his name. I think he grew up in Indianapolis, went to Harvard. He became a Rhodes Scholar, and he went to Afghanistan. He joined the military, went to Afghanistan, came back, ran for one mayor in Indianapolis. Then came out of the closet when he was 33, and now he's married to another man, and they have adopted 2 children, and he has spent literally months. He's the head of the transportation department, and we've got a massive problem going on with logistics and getting supplies into the United States, and this guy spent months at home. Now the Democrats are looking at the numbers of Joe Biden, which are just truly astounding. 37.8% positive reaction to Biden. Now, I want to know, who are these 37.8%? I can't imagine anybody looking at this guy. Even a committed leftist has got to see that everything is falling apart right now and their plans are going to go down the toilet. Now, as I mentioned before, the so-called infrastructure bill was passed, but now it's got to go to the Senate. It could get killed there. But 13 Republicans helped the Democrats pull the bacon out of the fire, pull victory out of the jaws of defeat for some damn reason. And Kamala is 27.8%, some weird vibration going on between these two, because she's 10 points below. She has been considered to be the most unliked high official in U.S. history. I mean, president or vice president. You remember all the hatred that was poured on Trump. Just constantly over 90%, 95%, 96% negative, I think it was at one point. Now they have conclusively proved that Trump had nothing to do with Russia before the election, and they found out that Hillary Clinton was behind all of the accusations that were all made up. So the question that I have is, what should they do to Hillary Clinton? And the National Security Advisor of Biden has now been indicted. I don't think he's going to be prosecuted, but he's been indicted. So it's extraordinary. And this is what I would say to you. What happens when you throw standard practices and ideas out the window? In this case, because it was claimed that President Trump was the next Hitler. He's a neo-Hitler. He was the Antichrist. And so notice just a few things. I'm going to get into my topic. But I would beg of you to think about a few things. Number one thing is, think about all the accusations about Trump. And I didn't know anything about him. I never really watched his show. I mean, I might have watched 3 minutes one time. Just not my cup of tea. But Trump comes in, very successful businessman. And he starts getting people attacking him. And I mean, everybody attacking him. And then there's this idea that is put out there by Hillary. It's put out by the FBI. It's put out by James Comey, who's a real devil. Comey, and is a self-righteous, self-aggrandizing, so-called Christian. And they attacked Trump, and then there was this idea. It was all of this propaganda was put out there, and it gave the feeling to many people that they were smart enough to figure out to read the tea leaves, and to figure out that Trump was truly a bad person, so he had to be resisted. So there was all this visceral and, emotional hatred towards Trump while he's trying to do his job. Now, in retrospect, looking back, it's a miracle that Trump got anything done. But the vast, vast, vast majority of things that were accusations thrown against Trump turned out to be spurious, false, apocryphal. And you can still hate Trump, but I would challenge you, if you hated him because of all this stuff that was said about him, it was all falsified. It came from Hillary. And if she couldn't win, then she was going to ruin his presidency. So it's up to you to decide whether Trump is a good guy. But if you disliked him because everybody in the media hated him and all the entertainers, people pick up on this vibration, and pretty soon it's everywhere, and everybody is just stating what this propaganda was putting out. So it's very sad. Who knows what a great job Trump could have done if he had had a little more help. But he did do a lot of great things, many of which were changed. And now you see the changes. And just for example, the gas, they have, and yes, I'm going to get to my topic, but yes, they shut down one pipeline. They then had another pipeline destabilized. It was taken over by sabotagers from Russia. That was the Colonial Pipeline, I think it was called. And now gas has doubled and tripled, and the Biden administration is talking about taking another gas pipeline offline that originally Widmar tried to do. What's that lady's name in Michigan? She tried to take it down. These are true leftists. When you see people do stuff like this, that is the sign of a true leftist. They do something that is either an economic catastrophe or a military or safety, security catastrophe, and they do it in a cavalier fashion. Nothing matters. Only thing that matters is my decision making, kind of an idea. So they want to, in the face of skyrocketing inflation that is caused by choice. All these things are choices. It's skyrocketing. Our fuel is skyrocketing because of choices that were made. And now they're going to take off another couple million barrels a day, a million, whatever it is. It's extraordinary that the entire country has not arisen against these people and thrown them out of office. But anyway, I'm getting here today on Booty Egg, and I did a article on him the other day, a podcast, and I enjoyed it so much I'm back for round 2. But this is what we found. 2 things have come out. Three things really. I was telling you earlier the terrible polling of Kamala and Biden, and I don't know about you, but when you see these really terrible decisions that are made, it gives you the sense that there's another shoe that's going to drop, another penny's going to fall. And it just gives you an unnerving sense, like, what do these people know that they can... It would be like some little person coming up to you and sassing you and saying, I'll kick your butt and all this. And you're thinking, is this person have a gun? Do they know Kung Fu? Why would this person get in my face and threaten me when it looks like I could snap them like a twig? It's just one of these things. It gives you a sense of unreality. So, total disaster for Biden's numbers. And, Biden's just involved in this thing where he's passing wind. He's basically went to this climate conference, fell asleep, he woke up, he went to meet Prince Charles, had his hand on his shoulder, was talking to him, boastful Biden. And then at some point he's talking to the wife of Prince Charles, Kamala Parker Bowles. And I used to live in Britain. I used to live in the UK for a couple of years, so I kind of followed these stories over there. And she's kind of sassy, brassy. She had an affair with with Charles, and then Charles got discredited by his mom. She didn't really like that, Queen Elizabeth. So that's why he was kind of thrown out of the line of succession. But Kamala Bowles speaks her mind. And that was the competition for Lady Diana, and Lady Diana had referred to her as the pit bull. So you've got this situation where Biden is just right next to these people, and he lets loose and vents flatus, if you know what I mean. He passes wind. He farts, to put it in the vernacular. And it's so loud and so long that Kamala said you couldn't ignore it. It was just, apparently just overwhelming, if you can imagine that. So, and there's another story that he went to see the Pope and was so excited he defecated. And, all right, so the Biden administration is looking at these numbers, and these people don't want to go out after one term because they know they're going to be hated by everybody, just like Trump's people were. 37.8% approval for Biden, and it's still going to be going down. He has no ability to prop it up. And then Kamala, 27. How is that possible? 27% people like her. Who in the hell likes these people? So they've come up with an idea. They think the most likable person, their government is full of disasters. Think about this guy who's just a complete psycho. Garland, the Attorney General Garland, Merrick Garland. Why do these elites always have these really odd sounding names? Anyway, Merrick Garland. Imagine him being. He's got to be at 20%. He does stupid things and then lies about it in front of and just wastes the time of the Congress. Anyway, they want to run, or thinking about running, Pete Buttigieg for president. Can you imagine that? The guy's 39. Smart guy, of course, but I mean, a lot of really terrible people are smart. So the Democrats are revealing desperation by daring to vet Pete Buttigieg for president 2024. Biden and Kamala are more toasted to a crisp than downtown Hiroshima circa World War II. So now they're trying to survive this bizarre arranged marriage between Biden and Kamala. There's no love there. She has already accused him of being a racist and never apologized. So Biden is so lost in his mind. He's so demented. He's a deranged rent-a-puppet, and his sect number 2 is a runaway Veep. Remember the runaway bride? Well, Kamala is now the runaway Veep. Where did she went off to Europe, I think, again. So now get this. Just this week, Peter Pan described the U.S. roads and highways as designed for racist purposes. Huh? And he says, yeah, the way they're built, where they went, how these bridges were put up so they wouldn't go past black people, that kind of an idea to separate. And so he's implying that all of these freeways and highways and bridges need to be rebuilt. Now, let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that there was racism built into the construction. Let's just say some crazy theory. There was actually truth to it, that there was a racist purpose to the highway system. Is it still racist? Does it have to be torn down and rebuilt? What if we found something in ancient Rome that was used to, let's just say, kill gay people or whatever. Let's just say it's in ancient Rome, and although there's a whole lot of homosexuality in ancient Rome, so that may not be a good, but just say there was something they found to kill Christians, How would you feel about going in and destroying that thing because it was used to kill Christians 2,000 years ago? This kind of thing doesn't make any sense, but these people who are running everything based on anti-racism are creating a disaster. So, Transport Secretary Peter Pan is being suggested as president, despite going AWOL to rush home for months-long maternity leave while the federal government struggled to solve the U.S. supply chain crisis. Now, they've just released a biopic called Mayor Pete. And it reveals, and apparently, I haven't seen the whole thing, it's not released yet, but they're just getting ready to release it, and there's reviews of it already. A soul so lost and thirsty for acceptance that every step is stage managed harder than a Jackson 5 dance routine. Now, is this the best the Dems can hope for? This is really what I'm getting at. We're lost in ideology. We're caught up in Marxism. We're in this race theory. We're caught up in the gender and the race theory. Right now, it's more race than anything, but in a year or two, it'll probably flip over to gender again. But I'm just hoping that if he gets elected, which he won't, he doesn't suffer a similar explosive dysentery and gas like Biden unloaded at point-blank range upon our unsuspecting foreign allies this past week. Now, here's something that's funny. You can't anywhere find how tall this guy is, Pete. You look at him, he looks like a kid, right? I'm serious. And kind of reminds me of Alfred E. Newman, the icon for Mad Magazine, and I didn't realize that Trump had already compared him to that. Now, here's a side note. If he is elected, would they film him on milk crates? Did you ever see, by the way, the movie Shane? Don't Leave Shane. It's Shane with Alan Ladd, and the bad guys came, and Shane stayed and defended this mother and her kid. And the kid falls in love with him, the mother falls in love with him, and then he leaves, of course, and breaks their heart. But so, with Alan Ladd, he was like 5'6", something like that. So with all of his co-stars, they had to stand in a trench, or he had to stand on a milk cart or whatever, milk carton. So, I just think it's ridiculous. Peter Pan is no more a fitting choice for president than would be journalist and Trump hunter Jim Acosta. Democrats are not merely at war, though, with the Republicans. Think about this. Think about this for a second. What's really going on? Well, if you were going to do your own movie on all this stuff going on, how would you portray it? What I would do is I would try to explain not just the wokeness, but where the wokeness came from and what the ultimate goal is. And the ultimate goal, whatever they're using, race or gender or economics, whatever, these people are all influenced by Marx, and they want to take over the country and turn us into a socialist country, communist, Marxist, whatever. Now, it is well known, and Marx knew this. Marx is actually more informed on this stuff than any of these people, more realistic. You can't take over a country with a big middle class. And so it's kind of a hopeless attempt. But, that's why, I just think probably when Marx died, he probably knew he was a failure. Because, he never even had it worked out how to do the things that he did. And that's another source of the disasters in these Marxist countries, is they don't really they have the overall theory, but they don't have the details. So Democrats think about this, they're at war with Republicans. They go after Trump and they attack him and they make everything about Trump, and then Trump, everything's Trump. But what's behind Trump? What was the motivation to go get Trump? They're against capitalism. They're against people that are successful capitalists, free market, libertarian people who are for freedom. And so when this lady runs, who was in the Marines, a black lady, and she wins, and she says, "This is the American dream. I came from Jamaica, and I wasn't a citizen, but I loved America so much I volunteered to become a Marine." And you're like, holy cow, and you hear that and tears get in your eyes, So really the Democrats are not just fighting against Republicans. That's just the front piece. That's the mask. Behind the mask, they're fighting against capitalism. But when you fight against capitalism, you're really fighting against freedom in the marketplace. You're fighting against taking away rules so that people can more easily invest and build businesses and stuff. But Buttigieg is also fighting against reality. You can't have a baby with a man. Two men can't have a baby. Maybe scientists will figure out a way to do that someday. But you want to live in that world? I don't. So they're fighting against nature itself. So he can't have a baby. He adopts a baby and then pretends that he was the father of the baby, or the mother of the baby probably. And he stays home for a couple of months while this supply chain thing is unsolved. It was just nuts. So my question is, will America actually vote for a small, lovable gay man, his upstanding husband, and their ready-made infants for the U.S. presidency? I'm asking the question. Is it a racist? Is it a sexist? Is it a genderist question? Is it really? Are we live in a country where you can't ask some questions? Now, I ask you this. In the secret voting booth, when you go all by yourself and you can just relax and be yourself in there, nobody can judge you in there. Will the hounded and cursed average American really embrace another unlikely ad hoc, and that's off the cuff, of the moment, shotgun marriage of convenience? Will we then privately salute the woke agenda in every manner in 7 ways from Sunday? So, here's what I'm suggesting. That a lot of people are not woke deep down. They deeply resent it, and when they go to vote, some people are going to be influenced by woke, but many won't be. And it'll be a celebration of freedom like you saw in Virginia when they didn't put in this guy, McAuliffe. Now, the question behind the question, or the question for the reality of what's going on. How long do Democrats plan on challenging everything Americans have ever known and all their traditional values? Why is there such a fetish to change things? There's this idea of change is always in the mind of liberals. That's the only constant. But there's no excellence involved with it. They would have put a woman up for election before a man, even if the man was twice as excellent as the woman. That's sad, isn't it? Now, but when you do that, you can look around and see the impact. It's just, there's been terrible destruction of our country. I mean, in 1 year, we're begging for oil from other countries while we shut down our own resources. And how you know this is a hoax is they originally said that I think it's called the L pipeline that goes into Michigan. They originally said that it was dangerous and it had to be shut down to be fixed. And now they're not saying that anymore because somebody came along and said, it's really not dangerous at all. They're saying it goes through native grounds and it has to respect the natives, you have to shut that down. So you think gas is expensive now. Now, what are these guys doing? What's the reason behind it? They are trying to drive up the price of gas and oil so that it makes other sources of energy more attractive and more economically feasible. And right now, for example, you hear about the green energy and what a beautiful world we're in building all this green energy. You know how much energy in the United States comes from solar? So I asked somebody the other day, they said 30%. I said, no, 2.3%. Think about that. So they're at odds with reality, and the reality is that green energy is not as vibrant. It is not as powerful. And the wind stops. The wind stops, and your turbines are not putting out any electricity. So that's an issue. And oil and coal and especially nuclear pack a punch for their size. As in comparison to green energy. So. But just consider how many ways liberals refuse to accept obvious truths of our existence. Believing the universe created itself, for example, that there is no God. And evolution means there is no human nature. We are meat robots. Weakness creates peace. You have to abase yourself in front of your enemies. The earth is dying and must be saved at any cost. Capitalism is evil, but taxes are delicious. Humans are naturally good, so dangerous felons must be released, and the homeless may camp wherever they like. That's happening all over the United States. More, that unlimited deficit spending won't hurt the economy, that unlimited numbers of illegal entries can't harm the USA, and 3 million this year, of course. Humanism must supplant false religion. Communism is beautiful and benefits everyone. Children only need a mom, yet fatherless kids grow into angry urchins. Don't forget that. Feminists say women are victims, which causes perpetual gender wars. Gender is all in the mind with 40 variations, so genitals are irrelevant and kids confused as many transition, yet none seem happy. So how can feminists have this ongoing beef with men when gender is an illusion? It's whatever is in your mind. So, with fighting against reality, what's going to happen? And so it seems unlikely to me that Peter Pan Buttigieg is going to get elected U.S. president simply because Americans are now deeply suspicious and very wary of Democrats' reckless leadership, destructive impulses, and mindless bucket list offerings. Everything's a bucket list. We got to try this. We've never had that before. So instead of reckless policies and relentless anti-American leadership, this will have us, the United States, in the ICU when Democrats get kicked out of power. And I said, instead, these reckless policies do this. And it's going to take more than just being trendy to fix what deeply ails us. Dear friends, fiat lux. Dear fellow patriots. So anyway, that's just kind of an outline of some of my thoughts. Hope that you are feeling good. And I've got for you, by the way, some music today is Bossa Nova, which I used to listen to quite a bit, and I love it. It's from Brazil, so check it out. Now, UPS. Do you trust UPS? I thought you did. Let me tell you a story here. Very weird story. A woman dressed up as a UPS driver shoots another woman in Northeast D.C. Okay, these two women hated each other. At least this one woman hated. She went dressed up as a UPS driver, went to the woman's house, knocked on the door. Door was opened by the lady. Here's your package. Well, she pulls out a gun and shoots her multiple times. Officers were called, and this was in Northeast D.C., Washington, D.C., and it happened on November 6th, so 4 days ago. So then the police were called, and the police tried to take her into custody, and she shot herself, but then she survived, so they took her to the police station, hospital and police station, and they, she's getting prosecuted. The lady she shot died, of course. Here's another story, though. If you look up UPS fake shooter, a man dressed as a fake UPS driver shot a woman to death, and this is June 18, 2020, so a little over a year ago, and WCVB, and I'm looking to see where this is from. Let me find out for us real quick. WCVB is in Boston, that's what I thought. Okay, so this is a terrible story that he had. I think he lived next door to this lady. And he dressed up as a UPS driver. And in Braintree, it was a former neighbor. He tracked her down. He had moved away, and he shot her and killed her. Now, here's one more story. If I can find it here. And it is... yeah, that guy. Robert Bonang, by the way, the last one. 61 years old. Shot to death Lori Melchionda, a beloved school nurse, out of her Braintree home. Babysitter was walking in the area with 2 young children. Told police she saw the defendant dressed as a fake UPS driver wearing a surgical mask and carrying a weird UPS box. The witness said the man walked up to the home at 64 Howie Road and frantically rang the doorbell. Babysitter walked away with the children, heard screaming, and turned around and saw the man shooting the victim. And they found her dead with... and the box What was so weird about it? At the opposite end of the box, a hole allowed someone to place their hand inside the box to manipulate the trigger of a rifle. And so he was shooting her with a rifle that was inside of this box. And so this lady had 30 years of experience as a nurse and was greatly loved. So I guess this guy's going away too. And there's one other story here. Blood everywhere. Also May 4th, 2020. A gang of fake delivery drivers stormed a family home before allegedly shooting an 11-year-old boy and slashing his dad in the head, and the boy suffered potentially life-changing injuries. Had been playing a game, and now this is in Upminster, East London, so it's happening internationally. All right. And let me ask you this. Aaron Rodgers, who's considered the most talented quarterback in history, and as compared to Tom Brady, who's considered to be the greatest player of all time. He got COVID. It turns out he wasn't vaccinated. Now there's a lot of people mad at him. I don't really care, because I think you should be able, like any other health decision, you could make your own decision. He missed a game. They lost the game. But should he be sanctioned by the league? I mean, this is a superstar in the league. And Aaron Rodgers is real mad at how he's being treated. So who are you more sympathetic to? Put your comments down there. Anyway, subscribe. I'm new to Rumble, and I'm loving it here. And give me your feedback. And with 6,000 views on my last video or podcast, I'm hoping to get another good one. Thanks for tuning in, Kelly O'Connell. Knockout Podcasts. Almost forgot. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day. Ciao.